Gabrovo, tucked away in the foothills of the Balkan Mountains of Bulgaria. It's the scene of two of the strangest events in Eastern Europe. Every year, the people of Gabrovo freeze in the streets like actors in a science fiction movie. And every other year, Gabrovo's home to one of the oddest events of the international calendar, a World Laughter Festival organized from this building, the House of Humor and Satire. But on this occasion, the staff aren't laughing.
Today is Memory Day of Bulgaria. For 5 or 6 minutes the sirens go and we all come out, we all stand to attention and try to remember all those who have died for our liberation.
Bulgaria is unique among the countries of Eastern Europe. Her people genuinely regard Russia as a liberator and not a conqueror. For among the dead being honored on Memorial Day are soldiers of the Tsar, who helped gain Bulgaria's independence from the Turks just over 100 years ago.
Every time I hear a siren, I think about war, that's first thing. And second, I always think of those who have died. I'm ever grateful to everybody who has died for me to live happily now.
Anyone who aspires to be a wit will have heard of Gabrovo, for Gabrovo has proclaimed itself world headquarters of hilarity.
The House of Humor and Satire has its own motto, and it is "Laughter has enabled the world to survive." In terms of the world, I see the festival as a summit conference of laughter.
The theme of this summit conference is the role of the cartoon in our lives. One of the judges is cartoonist Terence Parks, Larry of Punch. To put not too fine a point on it, Larry's on a freebie. It's something that happens to media folk who are often to be seen on the all-expenses-paid festival circuit. Only, like so many, Larry will discover before the week is over that nothing in life is really free.
Welcome, Mr. Welcome, Mr. Parks. We are glad to meet you.
My personal feelings certainly represents most cartoonists in England. They would regard the whole idea of an international exhibition of cartoons as a bit bloody absurd, you know, because we don't like to take ourselves seriously. Unlike the journalist profession or the acting profession who like to give each other awards and things, they've attempted to do the same for cartoonists, and the whole thing's preposterous to most of us. The whole idea of the House of Humor and Satire, where all cartoonists get together and then, worst of all, choose who's done the best cartoon, is quite an appalling idea, to my mind, to be taken seriously.
The delegates have arrived in a small country best known for sunny holidays by the Black Sea. So few of the humorists assembled in Gabrovo could be expected to know that Bulgaria has one of the highest economic growth rates in Eastern Europe, or that their hosts are the world's major suppliers of rose attar, an oil used in perfumes and liqueurs. Bulgars say that their other natural resource is their sense of humor, and this too has been turned to good commercial advantage. The House of Humor and Satire attracts nearly 250,000 visitors a year, most of them from overseas. This nation of fun-loving rose growers has often surprised the world. But today, few have heard of Georgy Dimitrov. And yet in the 30s, Dimitrov stood in the dock with his co-defendants accused of setting fire to the Reichstag. Georgy Dimitrov avoided paying the supreme penalty. And today, displayed on Gabrovo's public buildings, his mustachioed face is to be seen among the stern portraits of Bulgaria's other national heroes.
Скъп гости и председателят на изпълнителния комитет на Окръжния народен съвет, другарят Трифон Пангелов. Разрешете ми да присъствам, да приветствам.
I came to Bulgaria not because of his House of Humour and Satire thing, it's just to come and see the place and to be able to go back and say I've been to Bulgaria. To get behind the Iron Curtain, very much travelled people I know have never managed to do that.
Got my hands, but I'm holding it.
I knew what to expect up to a point, that a little bit like England 20 years ago. I got the first impressions on the Balkan Airlines plane, you know, when we sat for 2 hours waiting for the peace committee or something or other, some group of Russians to arrive before we could take off. So we sat 2 hours, and the hostess came round with a tray with glasses of water, you know, sort of. I thought this is what all we were going to get was glasses of water on the trip, but actual fact we had quite a good meal on the plane later on.
It's like a reward.
They're elected, sorry.
I'll take a picture.
Na zdravie.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Dobre, ja sam već popio.
He's always drunk,
Sad moram na šljivovicu.
There are delegations from most of Western Europe and a big one from the United States.
I've never heard of a show before that was all about humor, and that's when I heard there was a show all about humor, that's why I was so excited that I wanted to come.
Malcolm Forbes, who's a very wealthy and eccentric capitalist in the United States who publishes Forbes magazine.
A well-known genius.
And a well-known genius decided that it would be a good idea to send Ted and I to the Humor Festival.
Yeah, I think maybe humor is all of us struggling to survive and all the foolish mistakes we make getting in our own way trying.
Laughter's great, it's okay. You know, it's easier than burglary.
My head's going first, I think. This plum brandy is melting my brain a bit, you know.
Maybe an artist is criticizing and poking fun at everything all the way, and so it's more likely to be disapproving than to be joining.
We met the head of the Communist Party, and he consented to give us his card and a photograph of himself and Ted. And this is his card right here. Communists have cards apparently in this part of the world.
Music obviously travels well, but how shareable are other countries' jokes? Peter Rigby from Wiltshire has entered 2 cartoons in the competition, but he too is beset with doubts about international humour.
I don't think you can have an international joke because it's something that is very personal, either to a family or to a nation. And I don't think they travel well. Why have an international festival of humour if there's no international humour? I think that perhaps they want us to feel that they're as free as anyone else in this form of entertainment, if you like. We at home, and I include myself before I came here, have this paranoia about the Eastern Bloc. I feel that it is far more evident in us than it is in them. I've tried, perhaps I shouldn't have tried, to talk politics with 1 or 2 people, and they're really not interested. Perhaps they're bored by it all.
Gabrovo was founded by Ratu the blacksmith, a man coming from the village of Boženci, which is nearby Gabrovo. And the people put up a statue of Ratu the blacksmith. They put the statue in the river Yantra to save space.
Gabrovo has a reputation of being an area like the Cunt of Aberdeen, with the old joke about them being dour, humorless, thrifty. And I suppose there's a desire here to sort of try and promote themselves as a fun place, whether they have a sense of humour. It's a bit defensive, I think.
Gabrovo has been called the Manchester of Bulgaria, and weaving is an important industry enlisted like much else here into the humour business. This factory is busy producing joke souvenirs.
Котка, която е с дълга опашка, влиза в Габрово и се чуди дали да влезе или да се върне обратно, тъй като ако влезе има опасност и тя да остане с по-къса опашка.
The black cat is the symbol of Gabrovo. It comes from this cat joke, you know. Gabrovians used to cut the tails of their cats once upon a time. It seems cruel for other people, but it's funny for us.
The cat joke is top of the official joke list. Its gory details were soon on everyone's lips.
Apparently in Gabrovo, the people were real thrifty. They like to save money, and so in order to do that, they make a lot of adjustments in their living to meet their sense of thrift. So what they
sometimes can take the form of incredible cruelty to felines.
Yeah, it's like they'll butcher a cat, like to shorten its length so it won't hold the door open so long in wintertime and thereby keep the heat,
so they take
from escaping.
These giant, you know, Bronze Age adzes and just whack the tails off these felines. You can hear the hammers pounding half the day and night here as they customize their cats.
There have been collected about 4,000 anecdotes, which we consider pure Gabrovian anecdotes. We all collect jokes, but not only the House of Humor and Satire. There are lots of enthusiasts in the town, like Mr. Prodanov, a humorist, a journalist working at the local newspaper Balkansko Zname. Mr. Prodanov does not only collect jokes, he writes them. And now I'm going to ask him about one of his favorite anecdotes that he has written. Кой от анекдотите, който сте написали, ви харесва най-много?
Ще прочита, може би, един от най-хубавите, който има чист габровски подтекст.
Which has a typically Gabrovian sense in it.
Подтик. Попитали габровец как е успял да възпита на труд децата си. Рано да стават, равно с работа се захващат. Абе, какво да ви кажа? Усмихнал се габровецът. На 5 момчета съм оставил само един чифт нови цървули. Който стане първи, той ще ги обуе.
So, the anecdote is called Incentive. The Gabrovian was asked, how had he managed to raise his children to be hard-working, to get up and to start work early? Well, smiled the Gabrovian, I have 5 sons, and I have left only 1 pair of shoes between them. The first one to get up will be the first one to put them on.
Много феноменални аспекти. Житейския път на Чаплин от лондонското гето.
As far as the funniest people in the world are concerned, we think that the Bulgarians are the funniest people, but I have found out that other peoples also have funny jokes and they also love to smile and to laugh. So it means that there is something universal between the people, something like an universal joke or something universal that they love to laugh at.
Дриплюто, неудачникът, клоунът, скитникът с неговите смешни и трагични одисеи.
I like Charlie Chaplin very much. I think he is a symbol of the humor and the satire as well of the modern times. I think the statue of Charlie Chaplin is rather beautiful. I think it's very well done, and at the same time it's very unusual for a statue because you see the statue cut into 4 different pieces. I think the idea that is conveyed is very good because Charlie Chaplin was always on the run, always on the move. And you see the statue is just as if he's moving. It's perfectly well done for me.
As the festival progresses, Larry is beginning to wilt. He's one of a panel of judges who will decide who carries off not an Oscar, but an Aesop. It's an onerous responsibility involving a punishing schedule, and it's meant for Larry long, thirsty hours.
I don't like looking at lots of cartoons en masse. And after about an hour of this, we had a long discussion. I don't know, it was in foreign language. The interpreter and I were just having a private chat and a joke and a laugh. And then they thought, we got to carry on at midnight. And I said, we went on strike. No refreshments. I said, if I can have a beer, I'll carry on. And then no beer, so we went. And so we got to come again this morning.
Yes, could I get some more mineral water? Could I get some more mineral water?
I have 10 Pepsis.
No, just...
Oh. You want any more Pepsis?
No, no more Pepsis.
The delegates from the National Lampoon, on the other hand, were seasoned festival goers and somewhat wiser. They rarely left the restaurant.
The room we're in now is graphic art, and I've sort of seen this thing for years, you know? Looks like the kind of thing we used to try and do 20 years ago, to me.
It is, by and large, international, inasmuch as every country seems to have Irish jokes. Bulgaria, south of Sofia, is their sort of Irish joke area. And they're exactly the same as we have at home. But that's something else, that's a joke. And I don't think a cartoon should stand by a joke. I think it should stand by the drawing as it is. They've got to be absolutely, straight away, immediate. People give the average cartoon something like 2 seconds.
Filthy jokes, they're universal. The only ones that are. That's the odd thing about rude jokes. They translate.
I was talking to the organisers yesterday, and they'd had quite a large entry from, for instance, Japan, the most of which they had to reject, simply because they didn't understand the humour, which is different, unless it becomes westernised, which is what happens in international competitions. Now I've been here and spoken to the people here, and feel a lot less paranoid about this Eastern Bloc thing. I think I would have put in something rather different. Non-political, for a start. I realise that there are governments and there are people. My feelings about drawing cartoons about Mrs. Thatcher? They haven't changed one iota. But I was just thinking that perhaps it was not necessarily suitable for here.
Quite why Gabrovo, this tiny dot on the Balkans map, should claim to be the centre of world humour is a mystery. The locals say that they acquired the ability to see the funny side of life during the 5 grim centuries of Turkish occupation. Like every festival that ever was, Gabrovo has its festival fringe. One particularly charming aspect of the festival is the presence of children, the humorists of tomorrow.
Аз много се радвам, че вие сте вече в дома на хумора и сатирата. Този дом
Miss Ilyeva, Deputy Director of the House of Humour and Satire, is at hand to coax these young people with free-boiled sweets into the gentle and elusive art of comedy. And there's little fear that in due course they too will achieve their production norms in the humour factory. But in that happy throng there was one dissident voice. When asked if he had a favourite joke, the leader of the clown band replied,
No! I don't. I am myself my favorite joke.
Alexander Kirkov, one of Gabrovo's oldest citizens, has seen official humorists come and go, and his assessment of the festival does not adhere to the party line.
When you see something you can't laugh, or it's not funny but you do laugh, that's the humor of Gabrovo. There's nothing funny, but everybody's laughing. As for the festival, it's a lot of hullabaloo.
Up to now, about 80 people work at the House of Humor. We do various things. First of all, we laugh and smile, we crack jokes. At the same time, we do some serious job like interpreting, translating, collecting various jokes, researching the comic, the satirical in the various arts and genres of humor and satire. Also, we try to expand our connections and contacts with various people in the world. And up to now, the House of Humor and Satire has reached about 6,000 creators of humor and satire. That makes over 124 countries.
The organizers found it hard to understand why some of the Western delegates should spend so much time indulging in black comedy.
You can see this is a death's head, and the caption reads, "Thank you, Mr. President Reagan. That H-bomb was not so bad." Many of the cartoons employ the President Reagan, Mr. H-bomb motif.
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them.
Here's another one I don't think you can see right here. This is drawn by an Iranian, but I think it's a picture of probably Bulgaria or Iran maybe, after Mr. H-bomb has landed in their backyard. You can see it's just a kind of a stratified, flat piece of land, which is somewhat different than the country looks now, so therein lays the comment that Mr. H-bomb would have somewhat evil effect on this or any other land, especially Mr. Reagan's Mr. H-bomb. I don't know whether here's a guy.
So the general feeling is, I guess, to sum up, it's sort of a unanimous feeling that an H-bomb dropped anywhere would not be a good thing.
Especially if it came from the United States.
Yeah.
It's a particularly bad, virulent kind of H-bomb that's a little more malevolent than some of the other ones.
It's got a hell of a shockwave on it.
Just good ice cream.
Нравится, да?
I love my job. You know, apart from being an interpreter and translator in English, I am able to meet various people. I am a guide. I love to work with tourists. I love to tell them about the House of Humor and Satire. The House of Humor is not free. It costs for adults 40 stotinki, and for children, students, soldiers, 20 stotinki. But we have a free day, you know. It's Sunday. Everybody can come to the House of Humor and Satire and look around for hours. And you know, the funniest thing is that usually Gibsons come on Sunday.
С отрязана опашка ли тя или не? Отрязана. С отрязана опашка, добре, чудесно.
The Gibsonian reputation for humor has earned the town a unique honor. In 1976, the Crimean Astrophysical Observatory named a new planet it had discovered, Gabrovo. The discovery date of the planet was April Fool's Day. Gibsonians feel their humor mission has far outgrown the old cat joke. The House of Humor and Satire, already in regular correspondence with 6,000 humorists abroad, now plans to start a world information bank of humor and to send out humor operatives into the field. As the delegates watch the folk dancers on Georgy Dimitrov Square, officials of the House of Humor and Satire are saying that the next exciting development in Gabrovo will be a special hall where uninterrupted canned laughter, including the laughs of famous people, will be played to visitors. Meanwhile, the mayor of Gabrovo is thought to be in favor of setting up medical centers where the treatment of the sick could include a course of laughter. Larry has one more official duty. He is an observer at a conference of humour specialists. It's at this point that he makes a dreadful mistake. All experienced festival goers secure their retreat by sitting near the back, but Larry has chosen the front row.
Да достигнем до асоциативността. Благодарение на асоциацията, ние вече имаме представа за дадения човек как ходи. Това е за гротескното мислене. То обаче е заложено именно в карикатурата. Социалните, обществените отношения, човешките, интимни даже отношения, които са сложни, многообразни. Все пак ние знаем, че живеем в един настроечен, доста сложен свят, със своите доста сложни настроечни явления, които не се опростяват, а обратно се осложняват. Следователно, човекът просто е устроен сложното явление да го опрости. Именно по пътя на гротеската.
By grotesque, by using the grotesque, man is inclined to make the complex simple, because words are polysemical.
What?
Words are polysemical. They have a lot of meanings, like jam.
Yeah, we're in a jam.
But it was Larry's own fault. If he'd bothered to read the official daily news sheet, he would have noted the stern warning, humour is not to be made fun of. The sighting of this official shrine is a mark of the special relationship Bulgars feel for this self-made millionaire who started life, they say, in a London ghetto. There is about Chaplin's humour a dolefulness that satisfies the official humourists of this country. His is a very special brand of humour, which they argue cushions us from the ups and downs of life. And as if to hammer home the point that laughter often springs from a need to cry, the House of Humour and Satire has just published a collection of short stories from 24 different countries called Pain and Laughter, a title that is not lost on Larry.
Деформация, казвам аз, или хиперболизация, но това не е гротеска. Гротеската беше в една друга негова карикатура. Когато беше изобразил, с нея ще се опитам да обясня, когато беше изобразил Фердинанд, седнал до едно магаре, а магарето беше българския народ. Гледно и Фердинанд стрижа се косата на магарето. Българския народ, с много добра историческа памет, все още знае, че магаре не може да се стриже. Тоест, това означава, че е последното нещо, което се взима от магарето. Ето ви метафората. Но се получава и другия силният момент на чисто пластичното изражение на карикатуриста. Тоест, Фердинанд...
On another floor, meanwhile, Todd and Ted have at last been enticed from the restaurant to say goodbye to their host, the director of the House of Humour and Satire, Stephen Fortunov.
We were surprised that there was nowhere such a house of humour in the world, and we tried to create a centre for the humour of nations.
Хумора се оказва рядко контактна форма.
Humor turned to be a very good form for relations between the people.
И то общуване с един по-жизнерадостен свят, пълен с усмивки.
And a communication contributing to a better world.
Избягваме да вкарваме национални проблеми, противоречия.
Including national problems and contradictions in our collections, so that it is above some national differences and other problems. And we do our best to promote it in our country as well as abroad.
You'll have another festival in 2 years?
На всеки 2 години, втората половина на май.
The festival is held every other year in the second half of May.
So that we've enjoyed being guests so much at this festival and asked Mr. Fortunov if we could possibly stay on as guests for another maybe 5 or 6 months.
We'd like to stay for 5, 6 months.
5 or 6 months as guests and
We'll sleep in the restaurant downstairs.
Sleep in the restaurant and just drink only every other day.
Следователно се достига до така наречената висока степен на фантазност. Именно фантазността е, че като че ли губи се именно отрицателния момент, позицията на автора към остро социалните моменти. И се тръгва от позицията на едно визионерско, бих казала, отношение на един обикновен художник към живота. Той започва едва ли не живопис. Този живопис бихме могли да кажем, примерно, пейзаж. И в пейзажа, и в портрета бихме намерили хумор. Но сатира трябва да има отношение, социален момент, конфликтен, който да съществува в дадения момент, актуалност, реагиране от страна на карикатуриста по този механизъм, който казах аз, и вече да се стигне това нещо дешифрирано сред нас.
Oh, no prizes here. You couldn't try and laugh for me to begin with.
You really are putting me through the hoop. I do. Is that enough?
Well, why do you laugh?
Oh, relief I'm outside, out of that discussion.
What did you think of the discussion?
Bloody silly, ridiculous, absurd waste of everybody's time. Except the people talking away there, they were enjoying it, of course.
Is there anything you learnt from the discussion?
No, only how not to go to discussions on a Sunday morning of any description. I'd sooner been in church, actually, listening to the sermon.
When do you leave?
I think as soon as possible, I think. In the direction of the bottle of beer.
Prize giving, and as in many such competitions, few leave empty-handed. Britain, alas, failed to land the Aesop, but Peter Rigby did get a mention, though whether for his cartoon of President Reagan or Prime Minister Thatcher, he will never know.
Peter Rigby, Anglia. Ashiel Yudzbo, Belgia.
I would have suspected that English humour takes some beating, but strangely enough, it really doesn't travel very well. There's a humour called Tank and Flower by cartoonists. This comes about by sort of, you know, the sort of thing, the political sticking daffodils down the gun turrets of tanks and all this sort of thing. It's too serious for us. I think all humour is directed at oneself. Going back to the Irish joke or the Scots joke or whatever, one isn't really making a joke about the Irish. You're making a joke about yourself. You're in that case, you're making a joke about the daft aspect of yourself. I think all jokes are about oneself. The motto here, the world has survived by laughter, I think takes a bit of swallowing. I don't know why they should have that motto here. You question their own survival. They certainly haven't survived by laughing. I don't think recourse to laughter is the last resort. And unfortunately, violence is the last resort. Otherwise, we could have survived by laughing.
I knew the humour and satire thing was a load of old codswallop, but one thing that I really think is important, the Bulgarian people are as free as daisies. I mean, the Russians are there somewhere, but they're a happy crowd, I think. It reminds me of Ireland, you know. Well, I haven't been to Ireland, but I know how much Ireland might be. The people are like Irish in some ways, which is a compliment, I think. Is it?
Dale, готово колко Дали дам сигнал, тогава ще спече. Раз, два, три, четири.